Vanakkam, Namaste, and a very good day to you all. Today I'm going to talk on a very important topic. It's called Varnasrama, or in English, it's known as the classes of life. Or to better understand it, it's called the stages of life. And these stages have been divided to 4 different stages of life. In these present times, a human being lives up to a maximum of 120 years. And approximately, we take 100 years as the average lifespan of a human. And this has been divided into 4 parts, from 0 to 25 years, from 25 to 50 years, from 50 to 75 years, and from 75 up to 100 years, or up to the time of death. Now, the first stage, it's called as Brahmachari. What does Brahmachari mean? Brahmachari means a student of Brahman, one who studies about the existence of life itself. Now, this stage has been said that a person has to practice celibacy, that is to abstain from sex. This is true, and there are many reasons to it, which we'll be explaining later. But this is one of the most important stages of the human life. Now, before we get into proper learning of this stage, the 4 stages are divided roughly as a guideline based on the age. It is not age-centric, and we are not supposed to follow it based on our age, but more towards the classification comes about due to the maturing of our mind. When we are a child, we are an adult, we are a householder, and then we learn more and more and more. So the stages of our brain development together with our maturity are the classification rules of these 4 stages. Now, Brahmachari, we can divide it into 3 stages further. The first stage being from the time a child is formed in the womb of the mother up to 5 years old. The next stage being from 5 years old to pre-puberty age, 10 or 11 or 12. And after that is the puberty stage, before that person becomes a full adult. The most important time period in these 3 stages is the stage of the child being in the mother's womb up to 5 years old. Why is this stage very important? We have to recognize that a child, whether in the mother's womb or up to 5 years old, is very much like a blank videotape. And it's self-inbuilt digital video camera that records everything. In the final stages in the mother's womb, the child experiences whatever the mother experiences. If a mother smiles, the child smiles. If the mother cries, the child cries. And so forth. So more than being able to see, it feels every single emotion of the mother. And once the child is born, it is born into a totally new environment. And it's got a blank memory. In this case, it is important that to teach our child, we don't have to give out instructions or talk to the child to explain things and all that. At this stage, what the child does is it records everything that the parent does. So this is very important for everyone to understand. Whether you're a mother, or you're a father, or you're a brother or sister, or extended family sometimes have grandfathers and grandmothers too, including aunties and uncles. Everyone who's got a role to play in the child's formative years, the beginning 5 years, have to understand that the child learns by observing you. What you do, how you talk, and etc. etc. The child records non-stop, and this forms the basic memory. The basic structure of its memory comes from you. Now, let's take an example. Say you're a mother and you get up at noon, and the first thing you do is you go to the fridge, you grab a bottle of beer, and then you come to the hall and switch on the TV, and then you continue your day in that manner. What the child learns is that this is the right behavior, first of all. It thinks this is the way to live its life too, based on what you are projecting to the child. So the child follows what you do. Now, on the other hand, say you're a mother who gets up early in the morning, you have a shower, and you do what is necessary. You do prayers, you do mantras, or you do exercises, and then you begin your day with a positive light. The child also records this, absorbs it as its own software. Now, this is like software programming in the early days of the child's life, where the child records everything it needs to form the basic operating software for itself to function in this life. And that part is very important because it gets all its input from the environment it is placed in. The environment that feeds it with all the necessary knowledge for it to become an adult and to survive in this world. Now, isn't this the most important part of a child? And isn't it the most important time period for the parent to make sure that the child's environment is conducive, proper, and filled with positivity, happiness, and many other things that will make the child to grow up into a good human being, beneficial to the society. It all depends on the mother and the father and the immediate family. So make sure that during this time, the environment of the child is well cared for in every way, so that the child learns that this is the normal, right way to live. Once this has been imprinted into the long-term memory of the child and it forms its psychological makeup, you've given it a very good running software. And from this, from the age of 5 until it reaches puberty, there's a lot of experiments going on inside the child's mind, because it will test every learned principle with the external world and see how it functions, whether in the right way or the wrong way. And we must understand at this point that there's one important way that human beings learn is through making mistakes. So the more your child makes mistakes, the more faster it learns the 1,000 ways of doing things wrong. So to find the right way to do things right. So you have to provide it with that freedom to learn. Of course, bearing in mind to always be mindful of the child's safety and welfare. Now, as the child grows and learns all these things, then it is about to reach the age of puberty. Right? Pre-puberty, at the age of 10 or 11, normally we introduce the child to 2 very important facts that will change their life. One is the practice of yoga. The right time to introduce a child to start learning yoga asanas would be pre-puberty, about 10 or 11 years old. And the second thing is an introduction of a mantra by the mother, by the father, or by their family guru, or any guru that they have known personally. Now, why is this important? Bear in mind, from the time a child is born in a healthy manner and the child starts growing, automatically the body and its organs are very new, and genetically they do what is necessary to become strong, healthy, and all that. So, in other words, they don't really need exercise at a very young age because they're generally healthy. But at 10 years old, the habit of doing exercise is instilled in them so that it becomes a requirement for them to regularly practice it to maintain their body as they go into puberty and adulthood. And the second thing, the most important thing, a mantra is introduced to them. Now, why do we introduce a mantra to a child at this time period? Now, a lot of people somehow or other they do exercises, right? And the exercise is to keep the body healthy. But how do you keep your mind healthy? Right? That's why we introduce the mantra, because by doing japa and meditation and all that comes with the mantra, your mind is able to focus, concentrate, so that they can control their mind to do what they want. And that is very important to understand. I'll repeat it again. By practicing mantra through japa and meditation and etc., the main idea is at that stage is for them to be able to focus and concentrate better. It is something that is to be acquired through regular disciplined practice only. So when they do it regularly in a disciplined manner at a certain time, say we do it early in the morning and we do it in the evening, it's 2 times. What happens to the child's mind is that it acquires the ability to be very focused, and the child can concentrate, and also it improves the memory and many other things. But for the child, the benefit is that the child knows how to concentrate and focus their attention on their education and so many other things that are important to life. Without this, the child finds it very hard to be focused on what is necessary for them. Now, if they are introduced this during this time period, pre-puberty, and then when they achieve puberty, now we have to ask ourselves this question: what happens to the child, whether a boy or a girl, when they achieve puberty? The difference between a child pre-puberty and a child who has come into puberty is a very simple one. It is the awakening of the sexual desire in the child. That's what puberty shows. So when the sexual desire in a child is awakened, then the child's senses are heightened to be more receiving towards the pleasures of life. And during this time, if a child does not have the ability to focus and concentrate, then the child will be led astray, divulging and jumping into the sense gratification of this desire. And many people during this time, they make a lot of mistakes, and that has a big impact in their life. If you look at it, child pregnancies can be avoided. All these things come about because there's unbridled leeway of them satisfying their urges, which is not advisable at a very young age because they don't know the outcome will be harmful to them. And that's why in India, especially the southern parts of India, for girls especially, there is a coming into age ceremony, which we will talk in another video because it's very elaborate to be explained. That is very important, and this coming of age ceremony is done to remove the fear of the girl walking into womanhood, and is done by a group of women to welcome the young girl into womanhood. So it's a very significant ceremony, and it's very important for the child. Now, when a child is introduced to yoga and mantra at pre-puberty stage and practices it diligently, the strength of mind and body that comes with it enables the child to be able to control its unwanted desires and to focus on what's important in life. And they continue further learning to equip themselves to face the adult life. So normally in pre-teens, what we do is we introduce the young adult into the workings of the society outside. They learn what is the important things to function, how to do things, how to respond to the world, how to treat adults, how to treat younger people. There's so many social interaction that happens during that period that presets them to be ready for adulthood. And then when they reach the age of 25, now this age of 25 is a rough guideline, and especially for men, that we expect and we feel that they are matured and they are ready to take on the next stage of life. Bear in mind that women mature more faster than men. So the approximate calculation given is, say a woman is 20 and she will have a maturity of the man who's 25. And that's why in the ancient societies, they always marry a woman who's a little bit younger, within 3 to 5 years younger than the man, so that their maturity will be equal. Nothing else. It's such a simple thing that if the man is immature, the woman will be disappointed. Or if the woman is too immature, the man also won't have a balanced life. So to balance their life, it is important for the man and woman to have a similar maturity level. And that's why this age grouping comes about. Right? So once they are at this level, then they have transcended the brahmachari part because they have learned the parents, the extended family, the teachers, the gurus have all jointly taught them on how to equip themselves with the right knowledge that will be useful for them to carry on in their life until the day they die. Now we will move on to the second phase, which is GRHASTA, meaning a householder or a family person. We will have to take an assumption that the people who went through brahmacharya have had a balanced upbringing and they have equipped themselves with the necessary required knowledge so that they are ready to participate in adult society. So at this stage, GRHASTA, normally they will get married and start their own family. Right? So the parents of these children will pass over the responsibilities of running the family, running their business, or continuing their skill of the father or mother to the society. So slowly the parents will move away and these young adults will take on a more active role in participating in everyday life. So it is important to understand that a man and woman, once they are married, they are immediately expected to uphold their new status. So in accordance with that, the ancient society, after their marriage, used to invite them to other people's houses to give them the necessary respect and receive them in their newly acquired status as an adult married couple. So this plays an important role because the newly wedded couple understand that they are now in the eyes of the society and everybody regards them as such. Now, why is this GRHASTA period important? This GRHASTA period, the rough age guide is from the period of 25 years old to 50 years old, plus minus. The reason is they will give life to all of their desires during this time period. That's why they are married off, and then so they can have children, and then they can accumulate wealth, and they can participate in society, in music, art, culture. This is the time that they are totally involved in every aspect of the society, and they acquire a status of an adult. Now this time period is important for them to do everything that will enhance their quality of living, right? And so that they will be able to fulfill every aspect of their desire during this GRHASTA time period, so that when the time comes for them to leave this GRHASTA period, their desires will be fulfilled and they won't be expecting anything more from society. It's like they have achieved everything they wanted to achieve, to fulfill their obligations to their parents, to their children, to their relatives, to their friends, and generally to the society at large. So, this time period is given utmost importance and they have to participate in it actively so as to get the results they want. And it also involves accumulation of wealth, knowledge, further knowledge, and all other things that are pertinent to their lives. It is a natural state that is in us and that comes outward to express itself. So we cannot suppress it. We have to give expression to it and experience it. And once we experience it, then the desire goes away naturally. So, because they understood this, they wanted people to participate in life, not to abstain from life, but to participate in life and then give expression to all their desires. Once they have experienced it, it will go away by itself. And you will have a fulfilled feeling. A contentment will come in you. And you don't have to repeat it again. And a lot of people, they go through a midlife crisis. And many people think psychologically a midlife crisis is a mental problem. It is not. It's not really a mental problem per se. It is actually your inner self asking you to take a look and evaluate the way your life is going so that you can reset it to the real meaning of life and find your purpose. Human life is not just about earning money and accumulating wealth, put it in the bank, and then make sure that you are rich, but not spending it wisely. There's an old saying from Arthashastra. It's very simple, but it sends the message across. Get what you have not, guard what you have got, increase what you have guarded, and bestow on worthy persons what you have increased. Now, this is a verse from the Arthashastra teaching people on the accumulation of wealth and in guarding it, increasing it, and in the end it says not to keep it until the day you die by being selfish, but to bestow it on worthy people in the world. That you have to do charity and a lot of things that will benefit other people. So, what happens is that when we have gone through the GRHASTA life and then our children take over from us, maybe at the age of 50, 55, around there, and we go on to the next phase because we fulfilled everything the society wanted us to do. We fulfilled every desire that we ourselves wanted, and we have done everything to a completion. And our desires have faded away. The VANAPRASTHA stage starts. Now, what is the VANAPRASTHA stage? VANAPRASTHA stage is when the couple, the husband and wife, retire like their parents did from active participation in society and allow their children to take over on whatever they were doing. And these people start focusing. It's like the questions you ask yourself during midlife crisis. These are the answers for it. Where the semi-retired couple, pursue more of spiritual answers. Now it's a quest. Vanaprastha stage is a quest for you to find the answers for yourself. So, what this couple will do when they are 50 or 55, they will start focusing more on spiritual experiences. They might go on a spiritual pilgrimage, they might visit temples, and many of them, what they do is that they do charity work by providing food for the needy and poor during festivals. Now in ancient civilization in India, even till today, there's a lot of festivals that happens every other month. So what these people do, according to the wealth they've accumulated, they provide food for the other pilgrims who are poor and needy, who come also for their spiritual quest to the temples. And also sometimes if they don't have enough wealth, what they do is they provide service in cooking these meals in a group for these poor people. So what they are practicing is that during this time period is to be selfless and to give, because the more they give, then the more they are given back. With that understanding, they practice tapas, austerities, to purify their mind and to progress further in the spiritual path. Now, in these modern times, a lot of people don't do this. So what happens to these people who are not following their inner core to find out the real purpose of life or the spiritual journey? These people will take a look at life a second time around, and they will start repeating, or they will go for things that they did not accomplish earlier and keep on doing that again and again. And that's why a lot of them become alcoholic, go into drugs, they remarry again, have children again, and repeat the whole process second time around. So my advice would be, please think carefully, look carefully, search for the answers, and then because of the age and the experience, the quest to find the answers becomes important, and so the Vanaprastha period is one important period, and you start participating less actively in society because you've done whatever you need to do and you have to go on to the next stage. So when this couple practice this for the next 20 to 25 years and their spiritual journey is strengthened and they find a lot of the answers and they find a lot of contentment in their life, then they are ready for the next stage, which at the age of 75 onwards is the sannyasa stage. Now, the sannyasa stage is the final stage where the couple, although they are living together, are no more a couple, but they have become adept yogis in their life, and their spiritual journey is about to reach the final completion. Because at this age, if you look at people and you study them, they don't need anything from anyone. They just need a roof over their head. There's no desire in that. You must understand that. It's not because they don't like new clothes. They don't want, they don't need. They've done everything over and over and over again. And that part of desire has totally died. So, and the food they eat is also so little compared to the young people. Even in that, they've lost their desire. This is natural. Please understand that this is natural. And the only thing that will give satisfaction is the spiritual journey. Nothing else can replace that. And you will find that a lot of these older people will find happiness when they are with very small children, because they also have become small children. In the sense, small children doesn't have big desires, doesn't have anything extraordinary. They all want just to be happy. And that is the final conclusion of the sannyasi period, where once the desires fade away and they have completed their spiritual journey, and when that comes, they embrace it happily and peacefully, because they don't need anything anymore. The sannyasa period is actually automatic. From the early stages, when we introduce yoga to the child, mantra, japa, dhyana, the whole works of yoga, and they practice it from young, and when they are adults, they still keep on practicing it. And when they come to the stage of VANAPRASTHA, and they fully involve themselves in pursuing the path of yoga, and they find the answers, and due to diligent practice and strength of mind, they will achieve moksha automatically. There's no two ways about it. This is the whole process of a human life. In conclusion, every human being goes through these 4 stages, whether they are aware of it or not. It happens to them. Now remember that it's not the ages that are important, but it is your own mind that changes according to each period. That's why these 4 classes have been given. So, please recognize these stages in your life so you would know how to handle it, instead of going and taking the wrong paths of going to addiction, alcoholism, drug abuse, etc., and then doing things that are not necessary in your life, that doesn't give meaning to your existence. A human being is not an animal. Remember that. We have 2 things that makes us very unique. One is the ability for us to think in different ways, even abstract thought. Animals can't do it. Only human beings can do it. And secondly, we have a thumb that allows us to use our hands any which way we want. So, we are very advanced. We are not basic level animals, but very advanced beings. And knowing that, please live your life in the proper manner so that you will be beneficial to yourself, first of all, and to society at large. The more we practice these things and do the right things, only happiness will fill our life, and we'll be contented in the end.